Tory Lanez just dropped his new album Peterson, which was 100% recorded in prison. Luckily for me, I was able to help produce the beat on one of the craziest songs on the album, Guide Me Through the Storm. The story of how this one came together is truly something amazing, and I think it's going to inspire a ton of you guys to keep working no matter what your circumstances are. My boy Dave Bangin made the beat while he was fighting for his life in the emergency room. Tory recorded the song in prison, and so many crazy things had to happen for this record to actually come together, and it came out amazing.
One-way trip to prison, LA County into the mountains. Bunch of niggas on the bus that never got the counseling. Instead of gangbang, they so dope in broken houses.
So in today's video, I'm going to tell you how I got Tory Lanez on my beat, do a deconstructed of the beat, talk to my boy Dave, how he was able to produce beats on a #1 charting album while he was literally fighting for his life in the hospital, and while Tory was recording this whole album while he was in prison. So sit back and get ready to be inspired, because this one is crazy.
That's got to be one of the best possible songs you could ever create from inside the confines of a prison.
So this story all kind of started whenever Tory Lanez dropped his Sorry for the Wait album back in 2022, I believe. And I had seen a bunch of my friends who produced on that album posting, "Thank you at Johan Greentop, blah, blah, for the opportunity, blah, blah, blah." And I kind of put 2 and 2 together, and I kind of realized he was his engineer. And I've always wanted to work with Tory Lanez. So I DM'd him on Instagram and tried to make that connection. And luckily he responded, and I started sending him beats and ideas. But not too long after that, Tory got locked up, and I kind of figured that there was no point of me sending beats. I figured the last thing they needed was 100 beats every single day. And then flash forward a few years, actually, to just a few months ago, Johan texted me and he told me that they had used my sample called Through the Storm.
Guide me through the storm. Let you guide me. Guide me through the storm. Let you guide me.
And when I got that text, I was super hype. I've always wanted a song with Tory Lanez, but whenever I get these texts, if I don't actually hear the song, there's not a snippet, or the song isn't already out, it just doesn't feel real. But once I knew that Tory was actually back working, I started sending Johan some more ideas. And then later, Tory actually posted a video where he was on the prison phone talking about how he was going to drop an album in the next 3 weeks. And I was like, damn, he's actually going to drop a project that he's making right now in prison. But anyways, once I saw that album announcement, I hit up Johan again just to confirm and ask him if they were actually using it for the album, and he told me yes. And at that point, I was super hyped. And I'll talk more about when the record actually dropped, how that felt, and how that all went down later. But at first, I thought it was just me and Johan on the beat. And when Tory premiered this song on his Instagram live, I had seen another producer named Young Dave Bangin claiming that it was his beat. All I really knew at that point was they used my sample. I didn't know who else had worked on the beat. So once I found out who he was, I tapped in with him on Instagram and we talked on FaceTime, and I gotta tell you, his story is crazy. He actually made this beat while he was sitting in a hospital bed, pretty much the emergency room, fighting for his life, which is just insane. First question I just want to ask you is, like, how do you make beats when you're in the hospital? Like, what is your setup like?
My setup is mad basic, you know what I mean? So I have my headphones, I have the Sony XM, and then I have my MIDI keyboard mini, the mini one, and I just get to the cooking up right away, like you see on my Instagram page and everywhere.
You have like that little like side table in your hospital bed. You just be sitting there in the bed cooking up all day, right?
Yeah, like the reason why they need that table is to basically feed us. That became my desktop table. Got my laptop, MIDI keyboard, headphones, boom.
Hell yeah. What are you actually in the hospital for?
I was born with a genetic disease called sickle cell anemia. Okay, so usually in your bloodstreams, right, we have red blood cells that carry oxygen, hemoglobin, and a whole bunch of stuff that we need in order for us to live. Now, someone born with sickle cell, their red blood cells, instead of it being a perfect circle, it's like a banana shape. Now, when you get a bunch of those flowing through, what it does, it causes a traffic jam. Wherever spot that happens, we're gonna have pain, and that's when we're in so much pain. If you ask me how much pain I'm in out of 10, I could even tell you 300 million. We only get opioids. Basically, I had a pain crisis episode in my chest area and in my lower back area. So that's why I had to rush myself to the hospital.
How often do you have those episodes?
If I take my whole entire life, I'm 27, right? In my whole life, if you count all the days, all the numbers mixed together, it's about 14 to 15 years. I was basically born and raised in a hospital. It's a disease that's not really talked about, that should be talked about, because it is the craziest pain. It is second to none.
How do you go through something like that where your pain is so bad you can't even think, and then still be making music and working on your dreams and stuff?
I'm gonna be honest with you. It's because I have a dream. I have a dream of being blessed, you know what I mean? Of taking care of my whole family tree. Everyone was like, oh man, Dave is done for. So I'm like, oh hell no. You know what? I'm gonna show them what's up. So I'm gonna show you that. And I'm gonna make it look easy. And I'm gonna have fun because I truly love this. This is truly my calling. And it's an escape. When I put those headphones on, I start listening to them samples, or I start making a little melody. Maybe I might start with drums. I'm in a whole different place. I forget I'm even in the hospital.
When you were actually making the beat for this Guide Me Through the Storm song, what were you in the hospital for at that moment?
I had a chest crisis, right? I had a chest crisis, so I couldn't breathe. That's why if you look at the video of me cooking up, you see me with the oxygen mask. As I was just scrolling through some samples, and I wanted to make something painful. And then as soon as I heard, guide me through the storm, that's it. It's like it had a very, very sharp knife, and it just poked my heart, and I started getting into it. And I mean, when I start getting into it, I start forgetting my situation. I forget I'm getting a whole exchange right now because I'm just locked in with my creator, Jesus Christ, on cooking this beat.
So I actually made this sample over 2 years ago, probably in late 2022 or early 2023. And I remember kind of wanting to channel this like through the wire, Kanye, like inspiring old college dropout kind of sound, this like soulful gospel feeling. So the first thing I actually did in the sample was just lay down some piano chords that sound like this. Then I kind of complemented that, filled it out with an organ to give it just that churchy gospel vibe. Same chords. Filled it out with a live bass. And at this point, I was ready to add some vocals, and I really wanted to just kind of not compete with the chord progression that I already had going, but just follow that soulful kind of progression, but with my voice. So I actually wrote these vocals, and I'll just play one stem at a time. Full disclaimer, I am not a singer. This is just the rough demo idea that I did. Guide me through the storm. Same rhythm, same notes, more or less. Guide me through the storm. Absolutely terrible singing. But what I did is I layered it multiple times to make it sound like those old 70s soul records, those old gospel records that had a lot of different backing vocals and stuff. So I layered myself singing that melody more or less with few harmonies here and there, and then you get something like this, which is pretty much the whole idea of the sample. Guide me through the storm. Guide me through the storm. So at this point, I knew that this idea was good. I knew my singing wasn't where I needed it to be quite yet, but I knew that the idea was good. So what I did is I sent it over to my boy Jose, who's a crazy soul vocalist. And I basically just told him to just re-sing the vocal idea that I had, and he knocked it out of the park. So after that, I sped everything up to about 158 BPM, pitched the original sample up to semitones, and the fixed vocals without my terrible vocals in there, you get this. Guide me through the storm. From there, my work on the record was done, and it was time for Dave to flip that into that crazy beat.
So the first thing was the sample, which Pavi did. It was that one. I wanted that just for the intro. And then for the verse, I wanted this.
Like when you're working, do you kind of arrange the melody out first and then add the drums?
Me personally, I always go through the melody first because I feel like that's what guides my drums. I've been playing drums at church since I started when I think I was 7. Me, I make music for artists. I'm not like a beat battler and stuff like that, right? I make it the most simplest form because before I used to put like a lot of stops and this and that, and then it slows down, then like it was just too much. The 808s going do 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 do. You gotta leave room for the artist. And then after that, after they cut the record, they record on it, then for the post prod, now we could chop stuff on the beat, glitch a little bit, because just to give it more impact and stuff, you know?
That's dope, because I feel like a lot of producers, like, they hear the final product, like a song like our song Guide Me Through the Storm, and it's like you hear all this crazy stuff going on and you think you got to do that in the initial beat that you send out, but all that cool shit was done after the fact 90% of the time. So yeah, that's definitely a gem.
When you hear like the Kanye, like the dum dum do 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 do, that was playing them, that was post prod.
And speaking of the post production, I just want to give a big shout out to Play Picasso and Johan Greentop, who really built this whole record from the foundation of that simple beat that we made, built it into this huge gospel choir sounding thing. So I definitely just want to give them their flowers for completely leveling this record up.
Shouts out to all the umbrella producers that was a part of the project. I love all of y'all. Free Tory. That's how we rocking.
So once you had the sample arranged, like, what was your mindset on like doing the drums?
My mindset with the drums, I follow my heart. You know what I mean? I follow my heart. So I really close my eyes and stuff, and I just feel the whole sample, the whole melody, the whole record. And then I knew at first, I'm like, yep. So I decided to record a snare like this. But then I felt like I want to add a little bit more. And then after that, I did my hi-hats. My hi-hats, I like to click it in. And then after that one, I added the hats. Simplicity is the key. Once again, simplicity is the key if you're making beats for the artist. And then one of my favorite parts, I love doing kicks. The kicks I have to play, and then sometimes I'll add, like if I want to add rolls or maybe something a little bit more complex, then I'll click some parts in. But 80% of the times, I'm playing it. And then one of my favorite instruments, of course. And then last but not least, one of my absolute favorite part is this part right here.
And then it looks like you changed the 808 to a bass in like the verse sections, right?
Yep, that's what I did. So basically now in the verse section, I don't like my arrangements to be too repetitive. So I want to bring some change. And the fact that it was a gospel record, kind of, you know, like the vibe of the production, I wanted to add live in it. You know what I mean? So you get the real feeling.
So whenever you made this beat, did you like know it was special when you made it?
I have so much beats that are special to me. This, I knew it was special, especially with Tory on this. Oh my gosh, it's gonna make it go crazy. You feel me? It's gonna be a special record around Christmas time. I sent him that the 23rd. Of course, I'm getting ready for Christmas. Next thing you know, I get Merry Christmas with an audio file, and history was made. But the crazy part about it was just halfway done. So I didn't even know about the shout out that came after. I'm jumping up and down. This is the best Christmas. And then when the whole thing was done, and then we actually took it in, I almost came back to the hospital right away at the ER. Dave, what's the problem? Right now, I think my heart stopped. That's what I think happened. I think my heart stopped because this track is too crazy. Like, what?
How did you actually get working with Tory and his team in the first place?
I gotta start by saying shouts out to GM Umbrella Fresh. I called him GM. It stands for Goat Manager. Fresh basically took me in and he invited me to his actual personal crib. In due time, he's like, man, I really rock with this kid. When Tory was out, Fresh told me that he was going to Miami. He's like, yo, I need you to send me your best 10 and I'm gonna give it to Tory or whatever. So I cook up, make my most fire 10 beats. I give it to my manager. They're in the studio, whatever. Then he goes, yo, I gotta play you a pack. He played a track. Johan, open it up. Went to the booth, cut the record. Second song, all the way down. So he cut 8 out of 10 beats. From there on, I was like, yo, bro, this guy's crazy. So that was all fresh.
So you made the beat on the 23rd of December, right before Christmas, and you were in the hospital right before Christmas. So when did you get out of the hospital?
I got out of the hospital Christmas Eve.
You were out in time for Christmas, and then on Christmas, you found out you had the song, you got the song back. And then at some point after that, down the line, when they worked on it some more, you heard him shout you out.
Young Dave banging on the beat, he in the ER right now, producing this in critical condition.
I mean, obviously you were excited. I seen the video. How were you feeling though whenever you first heard that?
I knew it. I was right. I'm not crazy. I was telling everybody, yo, guys, I'm going to be one of the greatest producers, watch. And I'm coming through stepping. And where does the confidence come from? Comes from working. I've been grinding since I was 17. Now I'm 27. Now imagine on the 8th year how I felt with nothing. How about the 9th year? How about the 10th year? Still no placement. And it coming in August. And I'm there. Yes, of course, I have my clothing brand and stuff like that. And it has big motion. Tory Lanez wore it. NBA player Shaden Sharp wore it. Yeah, that was going on. But on the music side, that was my dream. Nothing was really happening. But I was still like, no, like I'm going to be a great producer. And if I'm here, it's because of one reason. And that's because of my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. He's the one that protected me. He's the one that did everything that he did for me to be here right now.
Me and you were talking about that last night. Like, most people aren't willing to put 10 years of work into something with 0 results and still be doing it every day. And then you add on top of that you're in the hospital, essentially in the emergency room half of your life. Like, people just don't want it bad enough, and that's why they're not getting it.
In this life, we have 24 hours. You got to decide, what are you going to do with those 24 hours?
So I wanted to ask you, like, in those moments where the pain is so bad, because I know that there's days where the shit's getting to you and you just do not want to do this shit. Like, what keeps you pushing and gives you the willpower to, like, just keep working and keep making beats and stuff?
To be really honest with you, is the fact that it's my situation that I'm in. My mother is everything. Me personally, my goal why I do this and stuff is to make her retire. Just yesterday, she just did a double shift. One shift is from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. A second shift is from 3 p.m. to 11 p.m. And I'm going to sit here and sit on my ass and say, yeah, woohoo, yeah, we lit. There's no time for playing around. I got my hustle from my mama. That's a fact.
You said that you have a clothing brand earlier. You also have something to like support sickle cell. So if you want to talk about that for a second.
First thing I'm going to talk about is my clothing brand, www.n'arrête-jamais.com. So even the word itself, the name of the brand is called N'arrête Jamais, and it stands for never gonna stop. And that's, of course, based on our stories, how no matter what obstacles we went through, no matter how hard it was, we never stopped, and we ain't never gonna stop. But my clothing brand, I created it with me and my partner. His name is Saifon Diallo. He's my right-hand man. We had our storefront. It literally had like marble floors. Our logo was on the floor. We had the logos on the wall. Then you seen all of our clothes that we released. What makes our brand big is we work with a lot of celebrities. We worked with Tory Lanez. Tory Lanez wore pink N'arrête Jamais original tracksuit. We also work with YK Osiris. We also work with the NBA player Shaden Sharp. We also worked with Millie's. He actually came to the shop. We also been working with Smiley. Also very, very, very good people.
You have another website where you do stuff for sickle cell.
Basically, the stuff that I do is basically a sickle cell foundation, like non-for-profit. I want to help out the sickle cell community. I worked a lot in the non-for-profit world in the past few years. If you check the page, NGS Official, you're gonna see all the events that we did, all of those, even the camps, everything we ever did was like 100% free. We realized that with a lot of these big companies, when you, let's say, donate money, it doesn't even really go to the people that need help. We want to make sure that we touch the sickle cell kids first, real life touching them. And me, I lost my older brother to sickle cell, so I know how that pain felt. So that's why I have my website, youngdavebanging.com. That's my website of me, what I went through, my music and everything, but all the merch is sickle cell based. I'll tell everybody, if you can, go to www.youngdavebanging.com, buy something and support if you can. You could get anything too if you want.
Now that we heard a little bit about Dave's story, I wanted to get back into a rollout and how the record came out, how that whole experience was. A few days before the album dropped, Tory had posted the album cover art, and at this point I was super hype. I was like, damn, this shit's really happening. I'm really about to be on a Tory Lanez album. So I was counting down the days, and then finally on that Thursday I stayed up all all the way until midnight when it dropped. And actually before midnight when it officially released on all streaming platforms, Tory went live with Gilly the King and Wallow to kind of premiere the album earlier and talk about his experience recording the album. And he was actually on the prison phone on Instagram Live, and he was just telling them to play certain records off the album. And at one point he said, "Play this record, Guide Me Through the Storm." And he went on a whole tangent about what this song meant to him, how every time he hears it back, he cries. So anyways, he started playing the song, and I could barely hear it through the Instagram Live quality, but it was sounding crazy. And I remember seeing Dave in the comments saying that it was his beat. Hearing that song back for the first time was just such a full circle moment. Hearing that full gospel choir sing those lyrics that I had wrote, that melody that I had written, was just such a out of body experience. And then hearing his dad doing that prayer at the end, I just felt crazy. Anyways, shortly after he previewed our song, the album dropped everywhere, and it was amazing. From being inspired by Tory Lanez and making Tory Lanez type beats ever since I was a teenager, to making that super inspiring vocal, him using it in prison, Dave making it in the hospital bed, and the record in general just being this super powerful and inspirational kind of song, it was just a really, really amazing feeling. How did you feel whenever the song dropped?
I wanted to shed a tear because it meant so much to me, man. It meant so much. Like, people don't even understand the stuff that we've been through. I'm telling you, going through all those obstacles. My mom almost losing her job. Us living in low income housing in the projects for my whole life, basically. So that's why, to me, when I got me through, I wanted to cry because of the stuff he was even saying in the song. Even himself, he said, "I swear to God, I shed tears making this record." Yeah, it's true. Because I was real life shedding tears when I was making this record.
The story alone makes this one like so much more special to me than just like another random placement. You know what I mean?
My parents, my mom, and stuff like that, I wouldn't be nothing without her. But I want to give a special thanks to my older cousin. His name is Flame. He's the reason why I do music. Because he used to be a rapper. I used to look at him like a superstar. He is the reason why I am who I am today, why I know a little bit how to mix and all that type of stuff. And then I want to give also a big shout out to my cousin, Home Run Hits, because he's the first person that made a beat in front of me.
So along the process of working on this record, I just kind of reinforced in my brain that the work that you're doing today may not show results for years, maybe even longer. And it's just really important to plant seeds now and keep working. And if you're doing very good work and you're planting seeds all the time, those great ideas will sprout and become something whenever the time is right. If you think about that, I made those vocals 2 years ago with zero intentions on getting Tory Lanez on them, but I really did feel that sample was special when I made it. And I really just believe that if you make music that you really resonate with, eventually it will find the right home. And also just especially talking to Dave on the phone today when we recorded this video and on FaceTime the past couple days about his situation, what he's been going through, it's honestly just inspired me to just keep working no matter what circumstances you're going through. Because as we could see with Dave, there's always someone who's going through harder stuff, who's doing more work than you, who's staying on the grind no matter what is going on. So you really have no excuses, and nobody is going to come to save you but yourself. So you just got to keep working, keep pushing, no matter if you're not seeing results. Like he said, he's been working on this for 10 years. Just keep going. There's no way that you're not going to get there if you're working on it every single day as hard as you can. Real quick, if you have anything like motivational you just want to say.
One thing that I would really want to tell you guys, number one, find your dream. I don't care how long it takes you. I don't care how you do it. Your dream, what makes your heart go on fire? If you were to see yourself at your greatest potential, how would you look like? And then you start going at it with full force. That little childhood Dave that's in me still, that's who I want to please. That's what I do it for. I do it for my family. And ain't no such thing as perfect timing. Perfect timing. It's now.
Thank you for watching to the end of this video. This record is super, super special to me. I think the story behind it is super amazing, and I hope it inspires a lot of you guys. But that's it for me. Peace.